That's a wide body. That's a wide body. That's a wide body. That's a wide body.
Yo, Panther Nation, what's good? Welcome back to Carolina's Armchair GM. I am your host, CJ. All right. And if you see the title of the video, What's Next, Episode 2. Now, I know in the last What's Next video, I said I would be going, position group by position group. But since it lined up perfectly with the start of the NFL draft today, and you had the interviews by Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, I figured I would throw that into the next episode of What's Next. Okay. So tonight, like I always said, I'm not going to hold you very long. We're going to talk about their combine interviews from the other day, some of the hot topics and things that are going on. All right. And if you didn't watch any of the combine today, the defensive linemen, the edge rushers, defensive linemen, and the linebacker worked out today. And let me tell you, okay, Sonny Styles is a specimen. And his teammate, Arvell Reese, is a specimen. Okay. I know a lot of Panther Nation wants us to get Sonny Styles. I promise you, we would have to trade up into the top 5 to get him. I'm pretty sure. Okay. I'm pretty sure we'd have to trade up in the top 5 to get him. So that's gonna be a long shot. And but we'll see what's going on. Okay. But before we get into that, let me get a little bit of business out of the way. First of all, thank everybody for watching. I appreciate the love and support. All right. As always, all right, on your way in, if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. All right. I appreciate all the love and support. And all right, if the spirit moves you so, okay, consider joining and become a member of the front office. All right. Again, thank y'all for the support. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So the other day, Dan Morgan and Dave Canales had their combine interview. Okay. And so I think there were a lot of, tidbits and some of them not really tidbits. Some of them is pretty, breaking news that they, divulged to the media. All right. So let's go ahead and get into some of that. All right. So I think one of the biggest things that came out of Dan Morgan and Dave Canales interviews was Dave Canales is going to turn over the play calling to offensive coordinator Brad Idzik for this upcoming season. Okay. And like it says on the screen, tell me how y'all feel. Do y'all think this was the right choice? All right. Do you think it was long overdue? All right. Do you think they should hold off on it and let Dave Canales keep calling the plays? All right. Now, me personally, I think this was the right decision. Okay. And, and I got my handy dandy notebook here. All right. And I wrote some stuff down from his interview. I wanted to make sure I did not forget. Okay. So Dave Canales said they did this. Bryce knows about it. They brought him into I'm not saying this decision-making process, but they let him know what was going on since he's going to be the one getting the play calls from Brad Idzik. Okay. He said he wanted to have more of an ability, to interact with special teams, and defense, especially, throughout practices and during the games as well. All right. He also wanted to have the ability to, on plays where they have, questions about calls with the referees, he'll be in more of a position to go to the referees plead his case or what have you, and see if he can get something done or find out exactly what the call was on the field, what it was all about. All right. He also said that with Brad Idzik calling the plays, the verbiage will not change and the approach will not change. Okay. He said he wants the process to improve. All right. Now, y'all know that the Panthers just hired Daryl Bevel as well. And he's going to be what I think is going to be an important factor in this offense this season as well. Okay. So you got Daryl Bevel. Brad Idzik, and Canales is not going to just throw himself completely out of the offensive process. Okay, I'm pretty sure that he's still going to have a say in it, but it's going to ultimately be up to Brad Idzik. Brad Idzik did do an interview with the Panthers at the draft. I mean, sorry, at the combine, and he was saying that you know this is his first time, calling plays. He did get a little taste of it last season, during the preseason games, but he has to get out here, make sure he gets himself confident and gets out here and gets in a flow. All right. Now, the thing that I, hope that comes out of this, and kind of one of the questions that I have as well, is it going to be now, like I said, I know Dave is going to have a word in the offense, but is this going to be Brad Idzik's offense? Okay. Just say we had a situation this upcoming season like we did last year. All right, we'll say Rico and another player. All right. And y'all know my disapproval of how they handled it. When Chuba Hubbard got hurt and came back, Rico was the hot hand. He had 2 straight games over 180 yards rushing, and they went back to a series by series system. And I feel like they didn't stay with the hot hand, which at the time was Rico Dowdle. Okay. To me, it threw off the timing with the offense. I think they were in a rhythm, they had momentum, and I think that, the back and forth, really threw them off of what was going good for them in the Miami game and in the Dallas game. So if we come up against another situation like that, is it going to be where Brad Idzik has complete control, to run the offense the way he wanted with the personnel, how he wants to run the personnel, or will Dave Canales have his have a hand in that as well? Okay. One other thing I hope that comes out of this is if we have a team, okay, and we have them down and we have our foot on their necks, okay, I hope to the good Lord above that Brad Idzik will continue to apply pressure and not let them up, okay. I hope he doesn't have these games where, for me, it seemed like Dave Canales was hell bent on the game plan. Okay. Hell bent on the game plan. I don't know if there were any adjustments that were built into it, and I'm sure there are adjustments that you can make on the fly, but he wasn't having any of it. Okay. I keep going back to the first Saints game. All right. I knew in the first quarter, about 3 quarters of the way through that first quarter, we weren't going to be able to run the ball on the Saints. They were determined to stop us with their front four and maybe one more say a linebacker coming on a blitz from time to time. And it seemed like in that first game, Dave Canales just kept running the ball, kept running the ball, kept running the ball all the way until the fourth quarter. Now it's too late. Then you want to try to open up the offense. No, that's not it. That's not how that, that's not how that should have went. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that, Brad Idzik brings another perspective. And like I said, it's gonna be the same offense, same verbiage, same approach, like Dave Canales said. But like I hope that Brad Idzik, has that total freedom, to run this offense how he sees fit. And I hope that Daryl Bevel will come in with his years of experience as an offensive coordinator, and as a head coach as well. And he can add, little tidbits of what he's done in the past to help this offense improve. All right. Because the thing is, as you know, good of a season, as we had. I mean, we were 8-9. We backed our way into the NFC South title. Okay, but our offense was still ranked bottom of the league in the 20s in just about every offensive statistical category. Okay, so there's a lot of work, a lot of improvement that needs to be done on this offense. And part of me wonders if if that was part of this decision, by Dave Canales. Maybe he felt like he was stretched too thin. Take a step back, let everybody that's been with him. Izzy, Izzy came with him, I think, from Seattle, went with him to Tampa Bay, and now he's here with him in Carolina. You know, let your people that you brought in to do the work, let them do the work. I think he said he wants to take a more global, approach to his head coaching position. And I'm kind of glad with that as well. Okay. Now, I know, I've had my critiques of the defense this season at certain times. Okay. I'm not going to critique the defense bad the whole entire season. Okay. The defense was what we wanted them to be for probably 90% of the season. All right. A top 15 middle of the pack unit. Okay. That kept us in a lot of games, turned a lot of games around for us. Okay. But, I hope that Dave Canales now can, sort of slide over and, not even gonna say be a thorn in Evero's side, but, make sure that he knows you're listening, he knows you're looking, knows he's paying attention. Okay. Something like that. So we'll see how that all goes. All right. Okay. And all right, we're gonna switch over to Dan Morgan. All right. Now, mind you, Dan Morgan had a lot to say in his press conference. Okay. And I'm sorry, in his combine interview. And in my bad, let me get to the comments here. Let me see. Lindsey Hamilton says, what's going on? Said, hey, it's a game zone W1, W5E. Said, hi, dude. I'm new. Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in, man. All right. Eternal said, you see David Bailey. No, I did not. I'm not gonna lie. I was in and out watching the stuff on the combines reels. I saw some, went in the house, came back out, saw a little bit more, had to go back in the house again. So yeah, I didn't see David Bailey, but I'll go back and watch the replay and take a look at it. Nader, what's going on? It's a risky business to put him as OC with basically no experience, which for best. Yeah, because this is gonna be his first time calling plays. Like I said, he was the I think wide receivers coach, and Dave Canales said something else about his role in Tampa Bay earlier today. But yeah, this is gonna be his first time calling plays. He also said that when he was in Tampa, and this is Dave Canales, he said that Coach Bowles, asked him what does he think makes him ready, to call plays. And I'm wondering, if Dave Canales asked that same question, to Brad Idzik. Dave Canales said I'm as ready as I'm gonna be. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Let me see. Shane, what's going on with you? How you doing, man? Glad to see you here tonight. All right. So Dan Morgan. All right. So Dan Morgan said that hold on one second. Marcos Cash, what's going on with you, man? How you doing? Glad you're here. Thank you for joining. All right. Dan Morgan, like I said, he had a lot to say. The thing I hate about these combine interviews, you could not hear any of the questions unless they were right there in front of Dan and Dave. Like the first person at the in front of the podium, and still with that, you could barely hear what they were saying. So a lot of these questions, you could not make out exactly what they were asking. But sometimes I had to go back and watch it again, replay it. But got the gist of it. All right. But Dan Morgan plans to be aggressive at linebacker and edge. Okay. And he said whether that be in free agency or the draft. Okay. Excuse me. And I think that's interesting because my question is he going to be more aggressive in free agency, or is he going to be more aggressive in the draft? All right. Now, him being aggressive in free agency, first thing a lot of us in Panther Nation think about is Trey Hendrickson. Okay. Now, to go make an offer to Trey Hendrickson to beat out a lot of these teams that have way more cap space than us. All right. They're going to have to make the Carolina Panthers really appealing for him to want to come here, first of all. All right. And that cap space and that offer that they give him will be a big part of that. So they are going to have to clear up a crap ton of cap space. All right. So in that, you might have some restructures, may have some extensions, you have some cap casualties. We talked about uh Ashawn Robinson, Tommy Tremble, who else? Ashawn Robinson, Tommy Tremble, and a couple more players that are possible cap casualties for the Panthers this offseason. All right. And since the last time we talked, Austin Corbett and DJ Wanham, the void year that each of them have this year has hit the Carolina Panthers dead money. Okay, so that $14 million that I showed y'all that the Panthers had in cap space went down to about I want to say 13 according to over the cap. Okay, let me see. Say what's up, Panther Nation. Wanham. Yeah, Wanham, as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, Wanham still being paid by the Panthers this year, 600 grand. But as of right now, he is not on the team. All right. Brock Jones. Hey, you know what? Speaking, and it's crazy. Rock Jones. My South Carolina brethren. Did y'all feel the earthquake down there today? I saw something on the news about it, and even my son, who goes to school up in Durham, said something about, asked us, did we feel the earthquake? They were saying that the epicenter was in between Columbia and Charlotte, but on the map that they had down there, it showed it was more so, right outside Columbia. So, all my South Carolina folks, y'all let me know that y'all feel the earthquake down there. But thank you for joining Rock Jones. He says Dan's got a plan to keep pounding CJ past the trenches. Yeah, yeah. And I know they do have a plan. You got Brant Tillis. He also had an interview during the combine and said a lot of stuff that I like. They're always planning at least 2 seasons ahead, as far as what they're going to do with cap space, salaries, potential contracts, all that stuff. So you got to think that they do have a plan, but the aggravating part is waiting to see exactly what that plan is. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here like like a 5-year-old, on Christmas Eve or something, waiting for the next day, and I'm just like, what is it? What is it? What are we gonna get? Who's gonna get cut? Who's gonna get restructured? Who's gonna get an extension? So, but we'll see. I know they got a plan, but we gotta wait and see what it is. All right. So again, now I think it comes down to, like I said, um, there are a few options out in free agency. Like I said, Trey Hendrickson. A lot of people always talking about Max Crosby, but in order to get Max Crosby, we are going to have to trade for him. All right. And I know the Raiders are not going to trade him for anything cheap. You're gonna have to give up maybe a first this year, a first next year, and something else. Plus, we got to take on that salary of his, and we got to make room for that as well. So, excuse me, I don't think that Max Crosby, is an option. All right, at linebacker, a few good options. Maybe we could persuade Devin Lloyd. No, is Devin Lloyd from the Jaguars? I might have his first name wrong, but Lloyd from the Jaguars. I don't know. We could persuade him, to come up to Carolina. But like I was saying, it all depends on what we do in free agency. And if we're aggressive in one position in free agency, I think we're going to be more aggressive in the other position in the draft, and vice versa. If we go after a couple linebackers in free agency, we'll probably see us draft more at the edge spot. And also, potentially throw a left tackle in there as well. All right. And vice versa. If we go after the edge position in free agency, we're probably going to go to the draft looking to get a few linebackers. And it's crazy because the linebacker drills, there were a lot of good guys in there. And the commentators kept saying, how this was a very fast class, according to the 40 times. Even Jacob Rodriguez, who's been on a lot of draft boards. I've picked him in a lot of drafts. It's kind of funny because he looked like he was moving in slow motion. He ran a 4.61 his first try and then ran a 4.58 on his second one. Sonny Styles, him, Arvell Reese, ended up with the two fastest times, 4.46. Okay. Sonny Styles also had a 43.5-inch vertical. and he did 11.6 on the broad jump. All right. Like I said, my man is a specimen. And like I said, if we don't trade up, I don't think the Panthers have much of a shot at getting him. Okay. Let me see. Said, I did not in Dirty Myrtle, but that's interesting. Fault line runs through Charleston. And that was crazy. I was in Myrtle Beach a couple weeks ago for my son's volleyball tournament. We went down to what was it? Sacosti High School. Oddly enough, where uh Hunter Renfro, who played for the Panthers, was a alumni there. I saw him on the little Hall of Fame trophy case they had up there. I went, okay. Let me see. Tip Drill Will, what's going on with you? He said, I dig the new layout. Okay. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. SC Pet Deacon. I knew you was gonna say that crap tonight. Deacon. What's up, Deacon Season Fries? He said that in the comment on a reel I had in the I was like, what? Kenny, what's going on with you? Let me introduce I have Mr. Kenny here. The front office fantasy league football winner here. All right. He said the combine was today. Yes, it started today. Today from 3 to 8, they had the linebackers, defensive linemen. Tomorrow from 3 to 8, I think they have the safeties. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, let me see here. Heck, nah, but I had this up here earlier. Okay, so today they had defensive linemen, linebackers, and I guess place kickers, what I did not see. Tomorrow, the 27th, they have tight ends and defensive backs. Saturday, okay, the big one. Let me see. The start time for Friday is 3:30, so it goes. I'm sorry, 3 o'clock goes to 3 to 8 tomorrow as well. Saturday starts at 1 o'clock. You have the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. And then Sunday, you have the offensive line. Okay. But yeah, the NFL draft did start today. Hey, appreciate you, Kitty. Appreciate you. But yes. All right. So getting on to some other stuff that Dan Morgan did say. It was kind of funny. They asked him about the NIL and things like that. And he said he thought the NIL was a good thing. Okay. Oh, excuse me, 1 second, y'all. Okay, sorry about that. He thought the NIL was a good thing. Okay, Dan Morgan said you get a snapshot of what a player is like with money. All right, and I never thought about that before. Never thought about that before, but that could be, a factor in decision making for them drafting some of these players. All right. I think the NIL is a great thing. You got all these players out here who are, you're putting your life on the line at these major colleges and universities who are getting millions of dollars for the athletic program off the backs of these athletes. Okay. And for years, now mind you, that a lot of these kids, especially the higher ranked kids that came in, they were getting a lot of something for years. Okay. I don't think this is anything new, but now it is out there and it's perfectly okay. It's ethical, legal, whatever you want to call it. And nobody's gonna get in trouble for it. But yeah, but I think it's a good thing. And let me see. Hey, what's going on? Oh God. Let me see. Al, what's going on, Al? Said Dan Morgan smart. Yeah, he is, man. Yeah. Football smart, yeah. Because who was it? Sonny Styles said that he met with the Panthers, and he said he liked his talk with Dan Morgan. He said he really enjoyed Dan Morgan's experience and the questions that he asked him. He asked him a lot of football questions. Dan Morgan being a former linebacker for the Panthers coming out of University of Miami. So yeah, but Dan Morgan is football smart. I heard teams are calling about sorry ass ain't doing nothing. Andrew Dalton, who who I want to know. We're gonna get into that in a little bit too. I got you, Al. I got you. But yeah, but like I was saying, with the whole NIL thing, I thought that was a interesting response. By Dan Morgan. Okay, and I agree with it totally. I agree with it totally. Okay, now mind you, all right, you also got to remember there is a lot of things going on behind the scenes with a lot of these kids. Okay. Now, if you're going to judge a kid about how off of how he spends his money, or factor that into the decision whether to draft them or not, I would hope that they get, especially if there's some gray areas or whatever, I hope they would get more, like behind the scenes, knowledge, facts, of what that kid might be going on in his life. You know what I mean? Something that looks one way to us might be something totally different to him and maybe his family and loved one. Yeah. So we'll see. All right. All right. Also, they asked Dan Morgan about Bradley Chubb. Okay. So Bradley Chubb was released from the Dolphins, and he said they will explore talking to him. They're going to talk to his agent, but nothing certain. Okay. So we know that Chubb has some experience with Evero, I think in his time in Denver when he was the defensive coordinator. All right. I did a reel on that a little while back, and the most overwhelming response to that was no. Okay. About bringing him in, because he does have a lengthy injury history. Okay. Very lengthy. Let me see. Now, mind you, 3 out of the last 4 years probably been his most his healthiest stint in the NFL. All right. He played 3 full seasons, and he missed 2024 with the torn ACL. But 22, 23, and 25, he played all of those seasons. All right. I don't know if it's a situation where he is past that, where he is past those injuries. But I think it's worth them looking at it and seeing what's what. Okay. Um, Let me see. Oh, he also said that Icky surgery went well. Okay. Said that they still don't have a timeline as to when Icky will be available to start working out or anything. Okay. So the Icky Ike McQuanu, our starting left tackle, his status is completely up in the air. All right. And then he also said that they will always attack the offensive line as usual. All right. Now, when I hear them say attack the offensive line, all right, for me, not that many, names as far as left tackles in free agency that jump off the board and like we got to go and make a bid for that tackle. Okay. I honestly think this is something that they probably will attack in the draft. Okay. And also when he says attack, I think they're going to all of their free agent offensive linemen. Dan Morgan also said all of them are going to be able to go out and test the free agency waters. All right. So that starting center Cade Mays, backup swing tackle Josh Nyman, Austin Corbett, and Brady Christensen. Okay, who's coming off of a season-ending biceps injury. All right. So if you watch the last live that Pastor Trench's cousin Tone was on, we were talking about the offensive line. Now, me, in my opinion, I think that you could sign, you know, 3 of the 4 of those guys back for pretty cheap. I think the biggest expense out of that is going to be Cade Mays. Okay. His market value, I think, is around 3 year, 38 million dollar contract, if I'm not mistaken. And I read an article that I read earlier was saying that the Detroit Lions, are keeping an eye on Cade Mays as well. One of the insiders reported that the Lions have been keeping an eye on Cade Mays since he was drafted. Okay, so I think there are going to be more than just the Lions that are looking to talk to Cade Mays as well. Now, mind you, what kind of a payday is Cade Mays going to get? Can the Panthers match that? Does he want to come back? You know what I mean? Those are all things that we got to wait and see. But if they wanted to bring back Josh Nyman, I wouldn't be mad at that. Okay, if they wanted to bring, especially Brady Christensen. Okay, if they brought back Brady Christensen and didn't bring back Josh Nyman, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Okay, I think Brady Christensen is a must to bring back. All right, and kind of like a 1A on that would be Josh Nyman. Um, Austin Corbett, you know, if they brought him back, I wouldn't be mad at it either. But I'm not gonna shed any tears if they don't. Okay, so we'll see how all that goes. All right. Let me see. Al said, please send him. Chubb is old, washed up, although he did play good for Miami. I live in Broward. He can stop the run. Okay, got you. And maybe it might be a thing if they bring in Chubb, they bring in somebody, who's got more experience and can help mentor the two young edge rushers that we got and whoever they potentially bring in as far as the draft. So we'll see. All right. Let me see. SC Panther Boy said Trent Williams is up for free agency, I believe. I did see something on Facebook where they said that he might, I don't know if they will cut him or whatnot. But now that might be an option as well. Now he is older guy, but he still can ball, but how much would it cost to bring him here? Okay. And how long would the contract be? You know what I mean? Because you still don't know yet how Icky's going to return, how he's going to play just yet. You know what I mean? So that's all got to be worked out and figured out as well. And hey, and shout out to Al, man, for the 5 gifted memberships, man. I appreciate y'all. And everybody that got a gifted membership, welcome to the front office, man. Al, I appreciate you as always, big dog. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Let me see who gonna get mine. No, the 49ers re-signed him. I figured, we'll see. Now, if they don't and the Panthers make a play for him, I wouldn't be mad at him at all. Would not be mad at him whatsoever. What about Quay Walker? I think that'll be an option as well. He is a free agent, Quay Walker with the Green Bay Packers. I think that's also an option. So we'll see. Al said, and he wants to retire at 40. Okay, all right, bet. Rock Jones said, let Corbett walk. Like I said, I don't disagree with this. I don't disagree with this at all. Now the only thing with Austin Corbett is, so the Panthers are already in for a void year on his contract for $4.4 million. Okay. I don't know if they I don't know if that can be reworked or restructured if they do sign him, or that voided year is just set in stone and they can't do nothing with that at all. If they bring him back, they're gonna have to pay him, excuse me, whatever they bring him back for, plus the voided year as well. So we'll see. Earl, how you doing? What's good with you? Hey, thank you for joining. Appreciate you. So we'll see. All right. But again, um, and I do think in this draft, if there is, a decent left tackle that is willing, okay, that is willing to try and slide over to that right tackle spot. My ideal situation is, if we bring in a left tackle, okay, and they play left tackle for this upcoming season. Icky comes back, he's healthy, ready to go. Okay, well, now you take that guy and transition him over to right tackle to be Taylor Moton's replacement, if he decides to give it up after the latest extension that he has. That would be my ideal scenario. Okay. But in order to make that happen, I do think that you're gonna have to get that tackle in the first or second round. Okay, I know a lot of people are probably going to want to throw something at me for saying that, but I do think you're going to have to grab that tackle in the first or second round. All right. I don't know if the talent level past the third round will be what the Panthers want, if and only if they were to go with my process with it. So yeah. Okay. Let me see. Wallace, Scott, DJ Wano can go. You talking about Trevin Wallace? Oh, he gonna be here. They ain't gonna get rid of Trevin Wallace just yet. But I don't know if they bring DJ Wano back. I don't know. And Nick Scott, he's going to be a free agent. And I think I'm getting the sense that all of the free agents that the Panthers have, maybe outside of Cade Mays. Well, no, at Cade Mays as well. The Panthers are like, oh, okay, cool. Go ahead, go test the free agency waters, see what's out there. Come back, let us know, and then we'll try and make a deal. All right. Earl says, get the likes up, chat. Yeah. Oh, real quick, y'all. thank you for joining me. All right. So if you're watching on the regular stream, if you're watching on the vertical stream in the shorts feed, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Again, as always, I appreciate the love and support. Thank you, Earl. All right. He said, yes, Trevin Wallace, sir. Okay. Well, I don't know. I think he's gonna be here because they get rid of Trevin Wallace. You best bet they're probably going to get a linebacker and maybe draft a linebacker or two. But we'll see. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I honestly don't think that's gonna happen. Not this year. Not this year. Okay. Let me see what else I got on my notebook here. All right, so they asked him about running backs as well. They asked him about Rico Dowdle. And Dan Morgan said, he thinks Rico Dowdle earned the right to go out there in free agency, test the waters, and see what kind of a contract, that he can get. He's not closing the door on a return for Rico Dowdle. All right. But you get the sense that it's like, okay, well, he's probably not going to be here. He's probably going to get a deal. But in case he doesn't, and he decides to come say, "Hey, I want to come back," I think they're keeping all options open, so they'll at least bring him in, hear him out, and see what's what. Okay. All right. Now, when we talk about edge rusher for the Panthers, that was a need going into last year's draft. Okay, and I know for me, when we drafted Ted McMillan, I was sitting here in the chair and I was like, "Ugh." Like, come on. We have a more pressing need at the edge rusher position because I really thought that's who they would pick, at that number 8 pick. I thought it would be like a Jalen Walker. Hell, if Abdul Carter would have made it down there, but he didn't. He went to the Giants before that. You know. Now, again, this year, so he was asked about the edge rusher position. So he did say that, they drafted Nick Scorton and Princely Umanmi Ellen for a reason. Okay. He said that they feel like the future is really bright for the two of them and that they like their progression so far. Okay. So now mind you, I'm not going to take that statement and run with it. Okay. But, you know, is it going to be a situation where just say you bring Nick Scorton's coming back. Pat Jones comes back from off of injury. Okay. And then you have Nick Scorton, you got Princely Umar, Pat Jones. If DJ Wanham doesn't come back, and then maybe you fill in that other position. If you don't fill it in free agency, you fill it in the draft. All right. In my midweek mock draft, if y'all hadn't checked that out, go back to the channel. I released it last night. My midweek mock draft episode 2. Okay. So in that draft, I went edge rusher with the first pick, and I took Akeem Messidor. All right. And I did have a comment that said that they said they would throw their TV against the wall if this was the Panthers draft. So I asked them, I said, was it that bad? I said, well, let me know what you would do. And they had a thought about Akeem Messidor. Now I didn't agree with part of it. They were saying that he's 25 and they don't see much I don't know if I forgot with growth or upside or potential out of Akeem Messidor. My take on that is now I told him, I said, okay, I got you. And he said he felt like there were some some better linebackers in the second round because I took Jake Golday. And I'm very proud of that because I keep calling him Galladay for whatever reason. That's not his name. All right. But Akeem Messidor, now his ranking PFF jumped up from 32 to 21. Okay. And I said during the mock draft, I didn't know if he's gonna be at the combine. So I saw him here a little while ago. He was there, but he wasn't participating in any drills. Okay. He's going to get all his work in at Miami's Pro Day. All right. And it seemed there were a few kids out there who were doing that. Not everybody did every drill, which is typical at the combine. But my thing is, if you look at Akeem Messidor, okay, and you look at his tape, if he can come into the Panthers organization and give you that size, speed, he's got the power, he's got the moves, he's got the tenacity. He can get to the quarterback, he can rush from the outside, he can rush over the guard. You know what I mean? So he can line up in that defensive end spot. Just say we like I said, say we Ashawn Robinson is a cap casualty. You know what I mean? He might be somebody that can come in and fill in that spot in certain downs. You know what I mean? I know he's 25, But if you get him here on a rookie deal and and you get production out of him, I think that's a win-win, damn near either way for the Panthers. You know what I mean? You get him in on a rookie contract, and if he produces, for 4 years, okay, well shoot, you go ahead and re-sign him. You know what I mean? Now I get what they were saying. You get some talent in here that's younger. Who was it? If I'm not mistaken, not T.J. Parker. There was another guy who was like the youngest kid there at the combine period, but he was an edge rusher, and I forgot his name. you know. But if we do, if Akeem Messidor is there and the Panthers do decide to take him, I would not be mad at that at all. The commenter said that he would rather see us take Howell from Texas A&M. And the crazy thing is, when I was writing my first reply, I was watching Howell do a drill, and he pulled up and grabbed the back of his hamstring. And I hope to the good Lord above he is okay. And I replied again. I said, that's crazy. As I was writing the first reply, I'm sitting here watching him do a drill, and he pulled up, grabbing the back of his leg. And like I said, in the comment, I said, I hope he was okay as well. But it's just wild, how things work out like that. All right. So, but yeah, like I said, Dan Morgan said he's going to be aggressive at linebacker and edge. And the one thing that I think is going to come out of this draft, we get into these early mock drafts, before the combine. You get PFF has a lot of people give PFF hell, but I think in the early part of the mock draft season, that I like to call it, you probably get more accuracy in where you think people might go. Okay, because there are a couple mock draft simulators that have Sonny Styles going late in the first round. All right. We all know that's not gonna happen. Okay. PFF, usually has him going top 13, somewhere in the top 10, which, after the night might be higher than that. But after this, I think a lot of this will change, and the good folks at PFF go there and update their rankings based on what they've seen out of the combine. I think a lot of this will change as well as far as the mock drafts going forward. I'm going to be interested to see how everything shakes up, from the first round on when I do the midweek mock draft next week for episode 3. All right. So make sure y'all tune in to that. All right. But like I said, I do think that free agency and this draft is going to be very heavy on the defensive side of the ball. Okay. Very, very heavy. All right. And I threw in Bud Clark in that draft yesterday as well. And somebody asked, why would I take a safety there? And I said, on the off chance that Nick Scott is not brought back, you have Trayvon Merrick left, Lathan Ransom, and Damani Richardson. And just say they don't bring back Simmons. Okay. Just say they don't bring back Isaiah Simmons. Okay. So we're gonna be in need, of a free safety. We're gonna be missing a free safety. Okay. And you all know how Evero likes to bring down a safety in the box. Okay. He likes to bring down a safety in the box. And I don't know if, Damani Richardson fits into the plans anymore. He was undrafted at Texas A&M a couple years ago, and we all thought that he was going to work his way into, a prominent role in that defense, but he kind of hasn't. If I'm not mistaken, he signed one of those future contracts at the end of the season or something like that. But it just in the occurrence that Nick Scott does not come back, okay, I do think the Panthers will probably be looking for a safety in this draft as well. But we shall see. Okay, we shall see. All right. But like I said, Dan Morgan, had a lot to say. And like I said, the defensive side of the ball will be emphasized greatly in free agency and the draft, because you got to remember, I think we ranked last in the league in sacks, or close to last in the league in sacks. We couldn't get enough pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. And to, kind of compound on that, you would see a lot of instances where our edge rushers would be this close to getting to the quarterback, but they always had an outlet. Something was always open over the middle, short middle of the field. You know what I mean? So we do got to get some linebackers in here who can go from sideline to sideline, who can cover. We got to get somebody Luke Kuechly esque. That's basically in the offensive play. They're in the huddle, with the opposing offense, and they know the play before they even the quarterback even spits it out his mouth. You know what I mean? So we need somebody like that, especially that middle linebacker spot, because I don't know if it's gonna be possible for Josie Jewell to come back this season. He did leave last year for medical reasons. I don't know if that situation has been resolved yet. Christian Roseboom, as much as I like some of his play this year, no. You know what I mean? I think he's good for coming in the game, maybe being in on blitzes, but even still with that, sometimes he runs so damn fast, he runs by the darn quarterback, and misses the tackle, misses the sack. He did that a few times this past season. You know what I mean? So I think the linebacker room is going to look a lot different this upcoming season. It might be a situation where the only one that you recognize from last year might be a Panthers boy. It might be Trevin Wallace, maybe Claude Sherella. So we'll see. All right. Let me see. He said good then. Shane said they need someone to cover. There you go, mid and deep middle. They don't have that guy. I completely agree. I completely agree. And I also think, like I was saying, that's what led to a lot of those sacks. Not sacks, but missed sacks as well, because there was always somebody coming open across the middle of the field. You know, and he loves that zone. He's not gonna get rid of that zone. I mean, I think you could go offer that man a $2 billion check right now, and he'd be like, "No, I'm good. I want to run my zone." So, yeah. All right. So now let's get to a another thing that I thought was interesting, from Dan Morgan as well. Okay. So they asked him about Andy Dalton's future. Okay. And Dan said that it's up to Andy. Okay, and to preface that, he said that the Panthers are going to bring in competition behind Bryce Young. Okay, whether it be via the draft, whether it be via free agency, or both. But the thing that stood out, he said Andy Dalton is going to have to compete. Okay, so that's where it's up to Andy came from. It's up to Andy on how he goes out there, how he competes. What his level of commitment is, to the organization, and going out there and wanting to be the backup. You know what I mean? But I do think that probably they go younger at the position. I do think they bring in another quarterback, younger, more mobile, than Andy Dalton, and we'll see what that goes from there. There was an article, I want to say it was Panthers Wire. I saw the title, did not read the article. And it said there was a potential trade option, for Andy Dalton. Okay. Now, I am thankful for Andy Dalton, aka the Red Rifle, and all his contributions to the Panthers since he's been here. But if Panthers, if somebody from your organization is listening, okay, if you get a trade request for Andy Dalton, okay, and if it's, a sixth or a seventh round pick, take it. Okay, take it, take it, take it. All right. Please take it. Okay. Um almost like almost like the Jonathan Mingo trade. Now, mind you, we're not getting a fourth round pick for Andy Dalton, but it's just like somebody who wasn't really helping us at the time, but we were able to get compensation for him. All right. And not to say that Andy wasn't really helping. I mean, his one he came in two games. He came in at the end of the Jets game after old boy kicked Bryce Young's ankle. Then he came in and played the Bills game and got mollywopped. Okay. So, but like I said, if they get a trade option for Andy Dalton, the Panthers, I say take it. But just make sure it's a draft pick. No none of this player for player stuff. We need picks. We need to be able to bring in some younger talent. SC Panthers boy said, "That's right. Hit the like button. people subscribe and share the live as well, please. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Uh, Said, yeah, don't be trying to play hardball. Take whatever you can get. Facts. Facts. Let me tell you, somebody comes in, offers you a 7th round pick, take it. Take it, take it, take it, take it, take it. Take that 7th round pick. All right. Go ahead and bring somebody in here. And hell, you never know what that what that 2nd round pick, may be. Okay. But yeah, but like I said, I'm sorry, I want to say Andy Dalton. But Dan Morgan did have, like I said, a lot to say, in the interviews that he did at the draft. And I think that, we have a pretty clear, um, not vision, but a pretty clear thought process as to how free agency and the draft will go. Okay. I know a lot of Panther Nation wants us to go out and draft a wide receiver in the draft as well. Um, I don't know if that's going to happen. Okay. But like I said in the midweek mock draft, as soon as I say I don't think the Panthers going to do something, they will go right out there and do it. Okay. Um, but a lot of people are wanting that speedy, shifty receiver that can, get downfield and take the top off the defense. Okay. Now, mind you, we did draft Jimmy Horn last year. All right. We still have XL. All right. And none of y'all don't hit me over the head for saying this. But I still think that there is some good left in XL. And I hope that with Daryl Bevell and Brad Idzik, they can put him in the right position, to take advantage of his skill set. Now, I'm not saying go out there every week and give the man go routes all the time. You know what I mean? But that's something that they could factor into, his role, because you've seen him do that and succeed with it, throughout last season. Okay. Um, but then, he did have the big drop against Philly that is brought up a lot. But I think he can. I think there's still something here for Xavier to get. All right, but we'll see. But again, y'all, like I said, I wasn't gonna keep y'all too long tonight because I'm pretty sure y'all can hear this little fake spring that we had in Charlotte has my allergies really messed up right now. And so I'm, struggling a little bit. But I just wanted to bring y'all, my thoughts on Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, their interviews from the NFL draft. Okay. So before y'all go, or if you're watching this on replay, make sure you leave me a comment. Okay. Let me know what you thought about the press conferences. I'm sorry, the combine interviews of Dan and Dave. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you got out of it. Okay. Let me know if you think there's something that I missed in my analysis of it. All right. I'll be really excited to hear from y'all. And like I said, and let me know what y'all think. Okay. I thank everybody for joining. All right. Thank you to Big Al. All right. For the 5 gifted memberships. I appreciate that, Al. And I thank you. Was Will said the XL bullies are pissed at you, CJ. Man, let me tell you, if it's one thing I don't care about, is somebody being mad at me. They can stay pissed off at me until the cows come home. But I'm sure. I am sure. But like I'm gonna stick with that until he's not here anymore. Okay. I do think there's some good left in XL for the Carolina Panthers. All right. I just think they got to come up with different ways to use him and bring out the talent that he has. Now, mind you, should he go out there and spend the off season, like Chad Ochocinco said, he said he gonna bring him in and get him right. He said, give me one off season with him and Keon Coleman. He said, I have them both right before the start of start training camp. Maybe he goes out there and he works out and goes with somebody this off season, and that'll help him out some. Maybe he gets with Bryce Young again. Maybe they go out and do something, or wherever. What was it that was it last off season? They all went up to Minnesota with Adam Thielen and trained with him before the Panthers traded him back to Minnesota. So we'll see. Dream 58 XL is that player that you use after you set up and connect a few jabs. I got you. I got you. I agree with that. I agree with that. Like I said, that they need to get creative with them. Okay, need to get creative with them. All right. And I think that this whole Brad Idzik calling the plays might be the tipping point for this. Okay. Like I said, I hope he goes out here and is able to adjust on the fly. A little better than what I saw out of Dave Canales, with the personnel that the Panthers have now. All right. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. But again, all right, I thank everybody for joining me. I know this was a short live. Like I said, just my thoughts and opinions on the combine interviews for Dave Canales and Dan Morgan. Okay. So y'all make sure y'all tune in next week. All right. I have episode 3 of the midweek mock draft, and I will have episode 3 of what's next. And I haven't decided exactly what position group I'm going to do, but I will decide that here in the next few days. Also, if y'all are out there, okay, do me a favor. All right. Y'all make sure that y'all say a little bit of a prayer and root on the Lake Norman 16-year-old boys volleyball club going to Raleigh this weekend for a tournament. All right. So my one of my twins, my son James, he is playing, him and his teammates. So y'all make sure y'all say a prayer for a good, healthy, and successful tournament. They've been playing really good lately. Playing really good. They've been in tournaments, probably the last 3 tournaments, and they've been playing against 18-year-old teams. Pretty good teams. And they've beaten quite a few of them. Okay. So, just wish my boys good luck as we go up there. Wish you safe travels on the road as we head out this weekend. And I appreciate all of it. Okay. And as always, Panther Nation, I'm going to leave y'all with 3 things. Number 1, y'all be safe. Number 1, y'all be good. Number 2, y'all be safe. And number 3, as always, Panther Nation, keep pounding, man. I'll see you.